My name is Phyllis Jones, and I am Chair of the North Andover Commission on Ability Assistance and host of today's program of Ability Assistance. Behind the camera, we are joined by our crew, Carly Jones, Cassie Bonanno, and our director today from North Andover CAM, Gabby Griffiths. Today we are pleased to welcome our guest, Kyle Palladino, Social Programs Coordinator at the North Andover Youth Center. See, we all mess up. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is such a fantastic opportunity, so I'm happy to speak on behalf of the Youth Center. So appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Let's start with the basic concept. What is on the grounds of the Youth Center? Because me personally, I drive past it and it's a big field in the back and the big white building with I think it's a red building to the side and a small parking lot. And that's all I know of it, which is horrible for me to say because I got 2 kids. But explain to us, what do you have on the grounds of the Youth Center?
Yeah, so the Youth Center grounds consist of 4 acres of area that we maintain and control. So we have obviously the big field behind us known as Drummond Field, which is in use for all of our Youth Center programs. We have a nice volleyball court right there, the softball field we use, and that's obviously the basis for a multitude of different programs. We have a street hockey rink as you come closer from the field to the Youth Center building. We have a great street hockey rink. We got our outdoor basketball court right behind there. You go around from the basketball court to the front, we got another basketball hoop, and then right on the side of that, where when I was a kid, it was just a grass area, which was utilized, but now we've kind of upped that a little bit. We have, some nice lawn games and picnic tables to hang out at, and just a great area that has really been utilized. And then, you go into the building and you mentioned the big red barn, which is a huge symbol of the Youth Center and has been for over 30 years now. We have a fantastic gymnasium for basketball, but also for other games and activities. And then, you go inside the Youth Center and you have downstairs, we got our game room with a pool table, an air hockey table, a foosball table. We got our hallway, we got, then you head upstairs. We have a nice multi-purpose room where, you might see a meeting, you might see a dance party, you might see a yoga class, and then, you go into our lounge with the TV and board games, and, kids might be reading or just kind of hanging out, doing a bunch of arts and crafts, everything, within those lines. And then, the last spot upstairs, obviously outside the offices, is our computer room, where we have about 4 TVs with gaming consoles, and then we got 9 computers where the kids can either, do homework or play games on the computers or just kind of hang out. So that's kind of, in summary, what we have at the Youth Center within all of our 4 acres. So, yeah.
It's much more than a white building, a red barn, and a big field in the backyard with a small parking lot in the front. A lot more than that. Now, we're the Commission on Ability Assistance, so I have to ask, you got a 2-level white structure.
Yes.
Is there an elevator inside?
Yes, there is, and the building is fully ADA compliant, so we can accommodate any child who needs any accommodations, elevator, and everything else that's necessary.
Ramps to be able to, if there's a step-up sort of situation, a ramp to get into the building?
Yep, building's on flat.
It's on flat, so we don't even have to
flat
worry
level
about
right
that.
when you walk in, correct.
What is the age grouping of young individuals who can be members of the Youth Center?
Sure, so it varies on our programming. So if you're talking about the school year from September to June, the age grouping is middle through high schoolers, so grades 6 to 12 are members of the Youth Center. The majority of our population is middle schoolers who, come after school Monday to Friday. Our high school members are mainly kids who are in either a leadership group or any kind of community service group that we offer. And so we have a wide array of groups, from a mentoring group to leadership groups to an adventure programming group, to keep those opportunities open for our high school age kids. But then also during the school year, we are open on Saturdays for 5th graders to come and experience the youth center for 3 hours on Saturdays from 1 to 4. So they're technically not members, but they can sign up and come on Saturdays and just have fun at the youth center with our staff and everything. So that's our school year age grouping. And then when you get into the summer, where we just finished our first week of programming, we are K-8. So we have what we call Sergeant Summer Fun at the Sergeant School. That's grades K-2, those who just completed each grade. That's how we kind of measure.
So rising first graders, rising second graders,
Yep.
not rising third graders?
Rising 3rd graders would also be in that category.
All right, so then would rising preschoolers enter that as well, or do they not?
Not even rising kindergartners. So we consider grades in the summer the grade you just completed.
Okay,
So if you just completed kindergarten, you're eligible for Sergeant Summer Fun.
because you're a rising first grader at that.
Exactly. If you just completed preschool, you got to wait 1 more year.
Because you haven't entered kindergarten yet.
Exactly. So that's our sergeant site with the youngest crew, and then you go what we call the Drummond site, which is obviously at the youth center. That's grades 3 to 5, which we host, and then we have 2 separate programs for our middle school kids. One is called Girl Got Game, and that is girls 6 to 8, and we have Sports and Rec, which is mostly boys, but girls are also welcome to join if they would like to, which is also grades 6 to 8, and that is at Reynolds Field, and Girl Got Games at the Atkinson School this summer.
Sounds like a lot.
Yes.
Now, do you have programs still open if, parents see this? Usually this program comes out maybe a week after taping. There's still a lot of summer left. Are there programs still open?
Not really. So we are very early on getting everything ready, just because we need to be able to go through registration and put the kids into groups and everything. So it's actually our Sergeant Summer Fun, the lowest site that I mentioned, sold out in 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
After
Is that normal, or is that just post-COVID?
I don't believe 3 hours may necessarily be normal, because we're talking about over 250 kids. But I do believe it has a lot to do with the fact that we worked so hard to stay open last summer, to adhere to every guideline, because there was no way we weren't going to have a summer 2020, for the kids who had been, in the house for 3+ months, dealing with the remote learning. I just can't imagine the stress levels these kids had to deal with, mentally and everything. And, there was no way we weren't going to be open. And I think, obviously, last summer, so many parents and guardians were grateful.
Yes.
But also, I'd be remiss to say, it's just an awesome program for these kids and everything. Now, there are still a few programs that have some spots left. I don't really have much to do with any of the 4 sites I mentioned. I run a basketball league for middle schoolers, grades 6 through 8. I run a flag football league, which does still have a few spots open. And I also run a dodgeball program, which started yesterday.
And both of these are co-ed?
So the basketball is boys. We used to have a girls program, but we don't anymore, just numbers-wise. The dodgeball program, yes, is co-ed. And the flag football is also co-ed. If any girls wanted to join, they're more than welcome to, of course.
Okay. Now, when we spoke before coming online or on air, you had talked about a nights program?
Yes. So I run a program called Nightwork, with the K, obviously, for North Andover. Nightwork has been a staple before I came on as social programs coordinator. It was something that I took over. What Nightwork is it started as a Friday morning community service group for middle school boys to kind of, learn the values of community service, work with each other, because it's from grades 6 to 8, so it's not just, a group of 8th graders
Yep.
volunteering with their friends. You got to learn to work with other kids who you may not know. And this is my 4th summer doing it, and we take up to about a dozen kids, and it was so popular this year that I opened a second session of Nightwork, which will now go on Monday mornings from right at 8 a.m. So, they kind of also learn you got to get up, got to do the work, and, they feel good after doing it. And it's actually funny you mentioned that. We were working yesterday. I had a young man who, it's his 3rd year working with me, and, he's like, I've had fun every week I do it. Volunteering's fun. I get to meet new people. I get to, do something that's valuable. I get to, work hard and feel good about myself afterwards. And he just said it out of the blue. I didn't even ask him or anything. So that's my community service group in the summer, and I'm really proud of how much it's grown.
What sort of tasks do they do in the community?
Sure. So just this week, we went to the Monday group. We went to a place called the Giving Garden, which is it's located at the Rolling Ridge Inn and Conference Center. They've expanded so much. I've been working with them for about 4 years. So we helped with weeding and planting, helping them move dirt, just anything they may ask, planting, watering, weed whacking, fixing the fence, mulching. And then yesterday we went to the sergeant school, and we kind of almost did 2 projects in one, I'd like to say. So when we got there, it was raining a little bit. We met up with the janitors, and we were helping them move desks and chairs out of all the rooms so they could clean the floors and everything. And then we went out back. The sergeant school has really worked hard this year to revitalize a garden that they have in the back. And, we helped make pathways. We helped cut branches. We helped linseed a birdhouse. We were moving rocks and bricks and, anything they may ask. It's obviously not crazy, laboring, back-breaking work, but, the kids do a great job. They're fully attentive, and they're fully willing to do whatever is necessary for us to do. So.
Okay, so a lot of these programs, this one sounds like a great community service program.
Yeah.
What about girls?
So for the girls, we have what is called Step Up, which has been a staple for a long time. That's run by our assistant director of the youth center. Her name's Demi. She does Step Up a little differently than I do Nightwork. Step Up is 1 full week in mid-August, and you go Monday to Friday. So instead of someone myself who goes once a week, she just goes 1 full week, and they do various things. They will hit some different organizations than I hit, which I really enjoy because we get to kind of experience different places and kind of make an impact as many places as we can.
Now, more and more of our children seem to be identifying differently than perhaps maybe in the past. So you might have somebody who is genetically a female who identifies as a male or vice versa, or somebody who goes by Gen X. How would those children be able to fit into the way you have this?
Yeah, so obviously, I could call it almost the motto of the youth center is no child is obviously turned away at our programs. And we are starting to see that with kids who are identifying as a male or a female who may be Gen X. And we just take every case individually, and we work with, we'll work with the child, we'll work with a parent or guardian to make sure whatever accommodation, whatever program is the best fit for them. So we may, talk, and most parents are fantastic when you do have a situation like such. They'll reach out to us and explain it to us, and they may ask for a meeting, or they may ask, how can you best accommodate my child? And then we just work through it. Obviously, each situation will have different specifics, but regardless, either way, if the child wants to be included and be a part of our program, we will make sure to make that happen.
Now, does that go the same for children who have disabilities, whether that they be physical, cognitive, mental, intellectual, depending upon their different ability levels, obviously. Would you do the same exact thing? Work with the parents to help them
Yes.
as best possible?
Absolutely. Like I just said, no child's turned away regardless of a disability or anything. So, we would just take everything in stride, like I said, take each case individually and just see what we can do for the child to make sure they are included and best accommodated for that program, because that's who the youth center is. We're never going to turn anyone away.
You had also mentioned when we spoke earlier, a teaming up with the Special Olympics.
Yes, so that is not my program, but I have been elevated to assistant director. And what the program is called is called North Andover Crusaders basketball, and that is a unified sports Special Olympics basketball program. Now, I used to volunteer with them in high school practices at the youth center. So it's not a youth center program, but we do have a great partnership. We host their practices every Thursday night. And personally, I found myself, when I came back to work at the youth center, very drawn to the program, volunteering on my own time. It has nothing to do with my responsibilities at the youth center, volunteering, working with the kids. So North Andover Crusaders host kids elementary age. I think our youngest is third grader.
Okay.
Was this year, but first, second grader would most likely be able to join us to 12th grade. And they come once a week for practices to, have some fun, play some games, but also to learn the sport of basketball. We do fun games and competitions and dribbling drills and everything. And then at the end of each year, we couldn't do it this year, obviously, they have a tournament at the Brooks School versus other towns, Haverhill, Andover, Newburyport, and it's a fantastic tournament. And I've been fortunate enough to be kind of at the forefront of North Andover Crusaders. I appreciate the director, Brian Downey, for naming me assistant director. It's really a passion of mine to just work with those kids and everything. And I was really pleased that we were able to work with the guidelines and everything to have a season this year. We couldn't have the tournament, but we worked really hard to just make sure we adhered to all the guidelines, make sure all the kids were safe and comfortable, and we were able to have a season. We usually start after Thanksgiving. We started right after New Year's, and we were able to go for a good 2.5 months.
That's fantastic.
To have the Thursday night practices, and the kids were super thankful. There was one mom who said, "You can have practice at 2 a.m. and my son will show up." And
especially after the year we had.
Exactly, and I just think the parents were so grateful, and I was just so happy that we were able to pull it off this year. So,
can you give me an idea, and us all an idea of the children who showed up? What sort of disabilities did they have? Just to give a spectrum so that parents can understand.
Yeah, so you have children with Down syndrome. You have some children who are wheelchair bound, where they would still come in and we would just have drills, passing drills with them and get them as included as possible. You have some children with autism who come in and play, and we all just work together and everyone's included. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention our fantastic high school volunteers who come every week. I have an influx of volunteers who are always looking to help out that I
That's fantastic.
That I almost had to turn some away and just say, we got to keep the numbers where they are, but you have the fantastic volunteers who really create just an unbelievable relationship and friendship with the kids, and it's just awesome. So yeah, to answer your question, there's all kids with all sort of different disabilities, and to get them all included and to make sure they leave with a smile on their face is probably one of my favorite things about Thursday nights in the winter at the youth center.
That sounds fantastic. So we have the 2 volunteer programs.
Yep.
We have the Special Olympics. I think you were telling me when we spoke about a young man who had been with the youth center for quite some time, went into the Special Olympics basketball program, volunteers around the youth center now, possibly. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, so we have a young man who has been through the youth center for a while, and he does all of our programs. He hasn't volunteered yet, but he's a rising 6th grader, I believe,
Okay.
and he does Crusaders basketball with us. He is a fan favorite on 5th grade Saturdays this year at the youth center, and he's a member of our Drummond Summer Fun site right now. He is autistic, and he absolutely loves the youth center, and the youth center absolutely loves him, and he's included in everything. He never missed a Saturday. I had the joy of working one Saturday per month this year to kind of fill in and fill a need there. So I love seeing him. He knows all the staff. The staff works with him, and he's just one of our favorites at the youth center. And now he'll be a 6th grader next year, so hopefully we'll be able to see him a little bit more.
Open it up a little bit more to him.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, you don't have a one-on-one capability for parents who might be questioning, can we get a one-on-one in terms of an assistant? But during the summer, you have something different, don't you?
Yes. So what we have in the summer, and it actually popped into my head last night, we have a youth-centered podcast called Youth Centered. And there was a episode we did last summer with 2 of our staff members who are buddies. And to segue into that, what we do have is what we call a buddy system. So we have kids with all different types of disabilities at our summer fun sites, and we work with the North Andover Public Schools special ed staff who are present at the sites every day for 7 weeks. But we also, with our counselors, we offer a buddy system. And what it is it's 3 levels. We determine the kids who may need a buddy. And if you're a level 3 buddy, you are more of just a check-in. We have 4 stations a day and 3 snacks in between each. You're more just a check-in. So you may just hang out with that child at every snack time and just say, hey, how's it going? Sit with them. Have a snack together and whatnot. So that's level 3. You're more of just a check-in. And level 2, that's what I would kind of consider a half-day buddy. So you may, you probably have every snack with the child, and then you'll probably go to 1 or 2 stations with them. So how we run our programs is there's probably 8 or 9 different stations each hour where, using all the 4 acres and playing games and everything. So you probably spend about half the day with the child. And then what we have is level 1 buddy. And you are full day, like you mentioned, one-on-one with that child. So you're spending your entire summer with that child, doing whatever station they want to do. So you're not tied to a group, you're tied to a child. And I think the most fantastic thing about the buddy system, yes, we do have the public school special ed staff there to help, but the buddy system is through our counselors. So what it is, when we have our staff training, our director, Rick Gorman, will present to all of our staff members, like, we're looking for buddies, obviously dependent on the year. We're looking for buddies who would like to be a buddy, and the hands that go up is just unbelievable. It's more than needed every time. These high school kids really jump at the chance to really make a huge difference.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So Rick did a podcast last summer with 2 of our high school staff members who were buddies last year, and they just talked about the rewards and the benefits of being a buddy and how fantastic it is. And, they do it on their own admission. We never have to pull teeth or anything. And, that's just the buddy system. And right now the buddy system is being utilized at our 2 youngest sites, the Sargent and the Drummond. And I can't say enough about it. It's fantastic to watch from my office window every morning.
Now, me as the parent of a special needs child, do you independently make the decision as to what level buddy my child might need, or do you work with me, work with the counselors, work with the special ed department, who would probably know a lot about the child because they help build their IEPs over the course of the year, and to then determine what level the child gets, or is that made unilaterally?
Right, so that's the same thing like I mentioned earlier. We got to make sure we work with all parties to find out the best accommodation. And maybe it's something where, day one, they're a level 2 buddy. Then we quickly realize, oh, they need a full day one-on-one.
Okay.
But we work with all parties, the parents, guardians, the special ed staff, to kind of see what you need. And usually it's requested to us. Like, I believe my child needs a full day. I believe my child just needs a check-in. I believe my child, if there's a counselor who could spend, just half the day, then, like I said, I think it would be not a mistake, but I think it would be challenging if we determine that without taking into account all of the necessary parties.
Which is why I asked the question.
Fantastic. Yep.
So, and again, that's only offered during the summer.
Correct.
Okay. Sounds like with the kids' hands going up, it might be something you might want to offer year-round.
I know. We'd a lot more staff in the summer, obviously.
Obviously. So let's talk a little bit about the gaming room.
Sure.
Every kid I know loves gaming. So why don't you bring us a little bit inside about that gaming room?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we have a lot of options in the gaming room. Like I said, the 4 TVs with 3 PlayStations and an Xbox, the 9 computers, I love seeing kids do their homework using the computers. Obviously now that everything's more online for the children. But we also make sure that a kid can't just stay in the gaming room all afternoon. So kids are limited to 1 hour of time in the gaming room, a half hour of video games, and a half hour of computer, because obviously we want to make sure as many kids as possible have an opportunity to use that gaming room. So it's a pretty happening room, especially, pre-COVID. Kids would be running the youth center, throwing their bag down, running upstairs to reserve a block or maybe to get in there first. So yeah, the kids love their games, and that's pretty happening room. So I'm excited to, with everything kind of settling down, restrictions and everything, I'm very excited to see that get pumped back up next fall.
Now, a lot of you being able to make accommodations, excuse me, is based upon parents or caregivers or guardians telling you, what assistance their child might need. Do you ask things like food allergies and medication issues and physical constraints and, concerns that parents might have about loud noises? Do you put something on there for the parents to give them the opportunity to self-identify?
Yes. So every registration form, anything, you cannot do something with the youth center unless you fill out a registration form.
Okay.
Even if it's something as simple as a free cornhole tournament that I ran at the beginning of the month, you got to fill out the registration form, emergency contact, parent contact, and there is a section on there. Please let us know of any medical conditions that we need to be aware of. Anything from obviously a disability to even a seasonal allergy, to make sure we're aware of it so we can communicate to our high school and college staff who may be with that child, so we have all eyes on that. So anytime you're signing up for anything with the youth center, you got to fill out that form, and we always take down all medical conditions for all of our programs and everything.
And you don't have to be a North Andover student in the schools to be able to participate.
Just a North Andover resident, correct.
Now, you were talking about through seniors. Some of our children stay in school until they turn 22 because they then cycle out of the system at that point.
Yep.
Can those children also participate
Yes.
Assuming arguendo you can accommodate.
Yes, we had, easiest way to put it, just use North Andover Crusaders, for example. We had a couple young men in our program this year who, were 19, 20 years old, still in schooling, and yeah, they're more than welcome to join us. So yes, that is very fine.
So there's no accommodation you're not willing to give within reasonable safety standards?
Correct. Yep, like I said, we just take every case individually, work with all parties necessary, and just see the best way to accommodate this child.
And work with the families?
Exactly, yes.
That's fantastic. Are there any programs that I've forgotten that you would like to highlight or mention?
To my knowledge, I do not believe so, but I would love to mention something that started with a group of my own. So I run a group, this is my 4th year doing it, called Freshman Sophomore Youth Council, and that is one of our high school leadership groups where we get 9th and 10th grade members. And the goal of Youth Council is to participate, but also organize various community service projects. We may do something as simple as going to the Giving Garden on a Saturday morning, or even, going to a food pantry to help organize, anything necessary. But what we also do, and that's why I mentioned organize community service. A young woman by the name of Ava Samanuk, she just graduated. She was in my youth council for 2 years as a freshman, sophomore. She came to me with a fantastic idea to have a dance for students with special needs, just for them.
Oh, wow.
So we have middle school dances every year, 6th grade, 7th grade, the 8th grade, formal dance, and obviously all kids are welcome, but you sometimes see special needs students a little overwhelmed and overshadowed, with 300 kids in the gym, being kids, running around crazy. And Ava came to me and just said, hey, I'd love to do a dance just for these kids, make them the spotlight and everything.
That's wonderful.
And 2 years ago, we were able to pull it off. We had about 30 kids in our gym.
Mm-hmm.
We made it Hawaiian themed. We had streamers and leis and Hawaiian t-shirts, and we did musical chairs, and we did, the Macarena and all of these different games, and it was just an absolute fantastic night. We were so close to having it last year, obviously, and then we had to COVID hit, and then this year, this year I had to split up my high school group to accommodate group sizes. So I did a freshman youth council and I did a sophomore youth council. And we couldn't have dances this year just through restrictions and guidelines. But sophomore youth council, and just great, I'm so grateful for all my kids for taking Ava's vision and keeping it going. We were able to host a field day for special ed kids this year, which we did last month, and it was fantastic. We did different stations that we did. We did soccer shootouts, and we did tetherball and cornhole and ping pong, and just anything for these kids to get outside and have fun. And we had the biggest station, which honestly could have just been one station for 2 hours, which was the dunk tank. You hit a target and you grab a cup of water and you dump it on a counselor. But then all the kids wanted to be dumped themselves, and we almost ran out of water. All they wanted to do was dunk me and everything. And it was just an absolutely wonderful day that, I'm just so grateful, obviously, for Ava for having that vision and coming to me, and, me being able to work with her and our group to pull off the dance. But then I'm also grateful for my group this year, the sophomores, to keep that going and just take Ava's vision and realize, this is so much fun. And a lot of them have told me that was their favorite event of the year. So hopefully next year we can get a dance back, and maybe even keep the field day as well. Both events were just so fantastic. So, I think some of that stemmed from, obviously, is a passion of Ava's herself, because she's also a North Andover Crusaders volunteer.
Okay.
But I think her and I share the same passion there of working with kids with special needs to give them, just unbelievable opportunities for them to be in the spotlight. And it absolutely warms my heart, when I go to Crusaders and when Ava and I talk so happily about pulling something off like that. So we kind of turned it into a youth council staple, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. Isn't it amazing how one little, I wonder, can just blossom into such a
Right.
great thing?
Yeah, I mean, she brought it up to me her freshman year, and I didn't brush it away, obviously,
yeah.
but I was just more like, yeah, it's a good
How
idea.
could we make that work?
Right, and then she came back as a sophomore. We revisited and pulled it off, and now that's here to stay, obviously. That's just going to be, like I said, a youth council, a freshman, sophomore youth council staple, where, the junior, senior group, they have some of their own events. When you come to freshman, sophomore youth council, now like, I have an opportunity to participate in this certain event. So, yeah.
When you start hosting these programs again, if you can let the commission know, because we're more than happy we have our own Facebook page.
Oh, fantastic.
So it would be a great way to kind of help get the information out there.
Yeah, definitely. We're always looking to work with all parties throughout the town to, spread the word out there. Obviously, we're huge on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have our own YouTube page where you can find all of our podcasts and everything. So yeah, any other group that we can work with to better share what we do at the youth center is more than welcoming for us.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. Now, I have to ask the question about money, because yes, you're a part of North Andover, but you're not just free per se.
Yep.
What sort of money, how much does it cost to be a member of the youth center?
Yeah, so that kind of varies now depending on how we've had to run pre-COVID, COVID, post-COVID. So pre-COVID, kids would come in September and they would just pay a one-time membership fee, and they'd be a member from the beginning of September to the end of the summer. So, you pay a one-time, you're a member of the youth center.
For a calendar year from September 1 through
August.
The end of August.
31,
Yeah.
correct. There would be other programs, though. So if we did a field trip, or if we did, a program like we had a fantastic program this year with Landmark Finish in Andover, an intro to woodworking program.
Oh, wow.
Which was fantastic. So there are other programs which would also cost more money, but if you're a member, you would pay a certain price, and if you're not, even non-members would be allowed to be in the program, but they would have to pay a little bit more.
So there's a discounted price versus
Just a membership has its benefits, exactly.
Right.
This year was a very challenging year to run, but again, fantastic that we were open physically all year. We had to do it a little different this year. It wasn't a drop-in where members could come after school and go gallivant and do whatever they want. This year we had to have specific programs each afternoon to be able to keep the kids in what we call a cohort. So if we had a basketball program, you would pay individually for that basketball program, and say it was Mondays and Wednesdays from 2 to 5. You would show up at 2, you would go in the gym, and you would stay with that group of kids. That way, in the case of a certain event, we were able to find out
more easily identify
who was with who and everything. Because if I had just come in the youth center and run around all afternoon and then something were to happen, how would we be able to know who I was with all day? Exactly. So this year we had to shift our identity a little bit, and you would pay for the specific program that you were signing up for. Next year, obviously we're working to get through summer right now.
Right.
We're still tailoring out the details to adhere to any guidelines for next September, with a potential target date of an announcement coming in mid-August.
Well, again, let the commission know we're more than happy
Yes.
to put the word out there.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, COVID, a lot of families came on some hard times.
Yes.
Still trying to come out from under. Couple of $100, can be a lot right now.
Yes.
what do we do for families who are in that sort of assistance or need?
Yeah, so one of my favorite quotes that I've taken to heart over my time at the youth center is, "No child is turned away due to financial hardship." Same thing, we will work with the family to understand their financial needs, and obviously to understand the needs of their child to be a part of the youth center. So we offer financial assistance to any family who needs it. So if you come to us and just say, I need help funding this membership for my child, we will work with you and we will take care of that child, because we don't want a child turned away from whether it's summer fun or just even being a member of the youth center due to financial hardship. So we will never turn a child away.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So we've got special programs. We've now got some special programs geared just to kids who need a little bit more assistance. We've got, during the summer, we've got some one-on-one buddies to give our children some extra attention. Hopefully the youth center will be able to go a little bit more back to regular.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Maybe this school year.
I know.
Maybe, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
You're willing to work on any program with the parents to, work with them and see what can be done to accommodate their child based upon need, whether it be physical, cognitive, emotional.
Yes.
And no child will be left behind due to financial constraints within the family.
Yes.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. Is there anything I've left out?
I really don't believe so. In summation, it's just a fully inclusive place, and it's, we strive to be better one year than we were the year before. Our motto when we finished summer staff training a week ago, before we started this Monday, is best summer ever. So last summer was the best summer ever. This summer is going to be the best summer ever.
Every year we're going to get the best summer ever.
One of our 5 values is growth. So, we just strive to be better today than we were yesterday, be better this week than we were last week, and just full inclusion for every kid, whether it's support services, because you have myself as social programs coordinator, you have my coworker Lauren, she's adventure programs coordinator. She does a lot of outdoorsy stuff. She has her own she has 2 leadership groups actually with kids, and then we have support services also that's run by our support services coordinator Asia Valdez, and she does a fantastic job. She works with the school system as well, the middle and the high school, and she'll do girls groups and groups at the high school and just work with any child who may need a little support, and a lot of that this year. So,
well, it sounds as though you folks run the full gamut, and I'd really like to thank you again for coming on the show and just telling us more about the youth center, and how for those of us who don't know more about it, to learn a little bit more about it. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is fantastic.
And thank you for joining us for an abbreviated but yet another great season of Ability Assistance. I'd like to thank again our guest, Kyle.
Thank you.
From the North Andover Youth Center. And thank you again always to our fantastic all-volunteer crew, Carly Jones, Cassie Bonanno, and today's director from North Andover CAM, Gabby Griffiths. Join us again in September. We are working hard on bringing you another great season of Ability Assistance. And on behalf of the entire Commission on Ability Assistance and all our fantastic crew throughout the year, have a happy, healthy, and great summer.